Oh, sorry. Hello and welcome to episode 6 of West End Talks. I'm delighted and thrilled to be here today with Luke Walsh.
Hi.
You'll know Luke from the playing Freddie in Chess the Musical Japan. Some of you, obviously UK viewers won't, but they will recognise him from playing Drew in Rock of Ages, the UK tour. And some of you may recognise him from playing Mike in Penny on Mars on the Disney Channel. So welcome, Luke.
Hi, thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming. It's definitely a privilege to have you. So we'll get started. We'll start the same way as we do with everybody, and just asking a couple of questions about you and your performance, rather than the questions from the fans. So it's basically, how did you get into performing?
I started playing instruments when I was at school. I started with the flute. I wanted to do piano, but all the piano slots got filled up for that, so I ended up doing the flute. And then started singing in a church choir when I think I started when I was like 9. And then kind of on and off, I was singing in that choir, and then I'd take some time off and play football, and I was kind of flip-flopping between those. And then I got to going to college, and I wasn't interested in musical theatre at all. Like I didn't really know anything about it. I just wanted to play music, so I'd been playing in a band for a bit that I'd formed with my brother and a couple of mates, and then we got to my twin brother Damien, by the way. We went to the open day for Brit School and figured out that the music strand had a lot of theory, and we'd already done, like, the pair of us thought this simultaneously. We'd already done a bunch of theory stuff, and we're kind of bored with all the writing, really. So we had a look at the musical theatre side of it, and it was singing, dancing, and acting, and most importantly, no theory in terms of the in terms of what we had to do for the schoolwork. So we ended up kind of tripping and falling and landing in musical theatre, and from then on, just kind of been playing in a band, mostly with my brother and a couple of mates, on and off. Different members have kind of rotated in and out, but it started as sort of a hobby, and then turned into what is now profession, I guess.
Great. It's always great to hear these stories because they're all different. You think people just, like, everybody is born into musical theatre and they've wanted to do it for years, but I've learned, certainly over the last 6 episodes, that not everybody's born into it. Not everybody's born wanting to do it. So especially like you fell into it, literally.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't want to do theory.
I'd never seen a panto till I was in one.
Oh no, you didn't.
Which was my very good. Which was my first job. And I think the first musical I saw, I don't even remember what it was called. I've got no idea. I think I was 15 by the time I'd seen my first musical, and then I saw Wicked twice, and then I hadn't seen another musical for ages after that. So, like, yeah, it was very much a happy accident for me, I think.
Good. It definitely was a happy accident. That's definite. Certainly with some of the productions you've done, we'll come into them slightly more as the talk goes on. But what was your? I know you said your first production was a pantomime, but what was your first musical production?
My first musical. What was it? That's a very good question. It was, I guess, it was a small little fringe thing. So I worked at a place that worked with a lot of people with special needs. It was kind of a sort of a community centre, and there was a guy who wrote a musical play called The Rabbit King, right, which involved like some puppetry and some other bits and bobs involved. So I guess strictly speaking, that would be my first musical. It was this tiny little fringe thing. We did like 3 performances, and it was all in the process of him kind of writing this show to turn it into a full puppet show, which he eventually did. I think about a year or 2 later. But yeah, The Rabbit King, that was my first thing.
And do you get any nods because you helped do that? No?
Sorry?
Does he still give you any nods because you helped him?
Oh, we're still friends. He invites me. Whenever he's doing concerts and things, he invites me along, and we still chat every now and again and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So now we'll come to the part where the whole point in West End Talks, which is giving the fans the chance to ask the questions, and it also takes a bit of the pressure off of me because I'm not actually asking these questions. Mm-hmm. Although it's my voice, it's not me that's asking them. We've got people from all around the world, to be honest. One of the first talks that we've done, that we literally have had people from Japan, we've had people from UK, obviously, asking questions about productions and also asking for some advice as well on different subjects. So we'll get straight in. And Tom asks, for your first question, you and your brother, you've said work together, so you've actually touched on that a bit. On music, but he wants to know what's the best and worst thing about working with your brother.
Hi Tom, thank you for your question. Best and worst thing. I know. So I'll go. Do you know what? I'll go best and then I'll do worst. So the best thing is that I know I can trust Damien. So if something needs to get done or I need an opinion on something, say we're writing a song, and I can just go to him and be like, "Is this good?" He'll just flat out tell me, "No, it sucks," or "Yes, it's good," and I should continue in that vein. The worst thing is that we very quickly start shouting at each other. Like the fuses we have for each other are wafer thin. So if I go to him with that piece of advice and he says a comment that isn't particularly constructive, then it's instantly like a shouting match and it just turns into absolute chaos. But I guess that comes with the territory of siblings anyway, right?
Yeah, me and my brothers are the same, yeah. Although we don't work together. That's the only difference. And none of us can really sing. Although my brothers are not that bad. Certainly better than me. So, moving on, Sean, he says, or he asks, shall I say, what kind of questions about the kind of touch kind of add up, if that makes sense. Was chess performed in English? And if so, what happened with the language barrier?
Hi, Sean. Thank you for that. Yes, chess was performed in English. So the Japanese ensemble and the other lead roles who were from Japan, they spent, I think, a good 2 weeks before I arrived. And I think Ramin and Sam didn't arrive for another few days after me anyway, but they were spent that whole time learning the entire show in English. So some of them had it written out phonetically. They had sessions with the musical director and a translator who was phenomenal, who they were just going backwards and forth, learning it phonetically. And they did a fantastic job. You wouldn't have been able to tell that that they were foreign, that some of them weren't even very good at speaking English. And they made a huge effort to speak English to us, which was amazing of them because they're such good people. They want to make you feel welcome and happy, and that's exactly what they did, which was fantastic. But yeah, they did really, really well. And I think Ramin said that, what did he say? He said at one point that the cast of the Japanese cast of chess have better diction than some casts he's heard in the UK and in America. Yeah, and they were really phenomenal. They were very, very talented people. It was a pleasure to work with them. How was the language barrier? To answer that, we had translators. Some of the people who worked at the company, one of them grew up in London. A couple others kind of grew up elsewhere and then moved back to Japan. So it was very easy to speak English as much as we could. I was trying to learn Japanese, but the sentence structure is just, I couldn't cope. But I tried. I learned a few words. I've forgotten them all already. But as I said, the cast made a massive effort. So some of the cast were already fluent in English, so they would help when we were out and about. But everybody in the cast made a huge effort to make us feel welcome and comfortable. So they were speaking English to us almost exclusively. So that was brilliant. So really, there wasn't a problem with it. There wasn't a barrier as such. They were just really, really helpful and really welcoming.
Yeah. So just in case, because I took that question slightly different to you then. So just in case you meant the other way, what about the audiences watching the show?
Oh, I see. Oh, you're right. No.
Just in case.
No, absolutely no. Cover all the bases. That's right. So we had screens on either side of the stage that had the Japanese translation of the lyrics and the scenes and the words and all that stuff. But again, most of the audience already could speak some English anyway. And I think especially when we were in Tokyo, they were just in general, I think I don't know why, but in Osaka it was very well received and everyone was very, very happy. But in Tokyo, I think they understood the English better. I don't know what that says about how they learn in those different cities, whatever. But yeah, it was just in case they had those translations up on the side of the screen. So yeah,
That would be the case, but I just thought it'd better just so we've covered all our bases for Sean.
absolutely.
So how did chess come about? Because you can understand from a non-performer's point of view how, like, chess in the UK, we did that last summer. Obviously, that was on the Coliseum last summer, and that came out of nowhere. Did you see that? I couldn't remember this name there. But so I can understand how people got those roles, but how does a role in a different country come about?
It was Nick Winston. He directed Rock of Ages, and just kind of out of the blue, he asked me what I was doing in January of the following year, and I said nothing planned. I'm doing a panto, and then that's it. And then a few days later, my agent got an email with an offer. So that was just all his doing. I think he likes me and liked working with me, and thought I'd be good for the role. So all he did was tell the producers that, and they were happy to go off of his recommendation. So very lucky, like insanely lucky. And I'm so happy to have worked with Nick already. I was already counting my blessings when I worked with him in Rock of Ages, but he's definitely a guy who you know that you'll get work with again and again, because he's loyal. He's also just a really nice guy. And he appreciates hard work. And I definitely think that's what I always bring, is a lot of hard work. So I think that's kind of why that happened. But yeah, very lucky, and I'm crossing my fingers it happens again at some point.
Hopefully, you've got your name out there, and that's great. It was a great, like, the top three. Obviously, you were in the top three. I'm counting you as well, but you've also had yourself, Samantha, and Ramin. That was a great top three cast. Like, absolutely, that's the ideal for me. That's three of my ideal top cast, definitely. Samantha obviously taking Frozen. She's coming into Frozen when it opens. When that will be, we're not sure, but at the moment it's still October. It's Angela Weber's still saying October, so she's going into that. And obviously Ramin's been in, well, you name it, and Ramin's been in it. But he's obviously got the Secret Garden coming up, so he's absolutely fantastic. The top three, I've got to say, I was slightly annoyed actually that it didn't come off to the UK with that cast. I'm like, can you not just come and do even one night or one night in Bangkok? Well.
It's a shame. It seems that people over here find it hard to sell chess as the musical. And our production was an interesting one, because Nick spent a long time kind of cutting some of the fluff out, I guess, and making it more about the story between Ramin and Sam's characters and the relationship between the people, rather than kind of the overarching metaphors that kind of weave their way through it, which makes it easier to follow as a story. And I think that's what a lot of people have struggled with. A lot of productions have struggled with. So yeah, Nick worked really hard to make that happen, and working with Ramin and Sam as well. They're lovely people. I'm very, very happy to have worked with them. I text them every now and again, just saying, hey, how's it going in isolation? What's going on? How's everybody? They're obviously insanely talented, and it was a blast. It was really, really fun.
No, definitely. Just name dropping there. Yeah, just text Ramin and Samantha. Yeah, not a problem. Just text them constantly. I wish I could say the same. I just text my mum every so often. It's the same.
I'm sure she appreciates it.
She appreciates it. I don't. No, I do. Sorry. Joking, Mum, in case you're watching. So Alex, continuing. Let's move on quickly. Alex asks. So he covers. What's the best way that for you, like, that you would recommend for a guy, so a man, to be seen in this industry? And do you have any techniques for keeping your voice safe?
Sure. It's a tricky one, Alex. For a guy or someone who represents themselves as a guy, it it depends. So there's it depends on the role. It depends what you look like. It depends on how you act. There's I think there's definitely room in terms of ensemble for so it tends to be boys who are stronger at dancing. There's room for a tough, manlier version of that movement, because there's there's a lot of guys who are very, very graceful, but casting directors and some productions see that as too effeminate, and they need stronger, manlier men, sort of in that category. So that's something to think about in terms of how you move when you're in a dance call. Other than that, it's kind of just embodying whatever character you have that you're reading in for, or whatever the audition or whatever the production calls for. So I don't know how else to answer that question, because it's a little, to be honest, it's a bit vague, because it's down to the individual person.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of jobs where I've gone up for where I thought I was right, and the people casting it didn't think I was right. So I don't think that's because I'm not manly when I need to be, when the character calls for it or whatever. It just depends on the production. So just do your best with all the tools you have, and don't worry about what other people think of you. That is where you fall into a trap of kind of self-deprecation, and that it leads to a kind of a negative spiral. So I wouldn't worry about that. Wouldn't worry about how you appear too much. Sorry, I've lost what the second part of the question was.
Do you have any techniques for keeping your voice safe?
Techniques. Yeah, just warm up a lot. I warm up very differently to a lot of other people, because I think there's a lot of warm ups that don't serve my voice personally. So I spend pretty much, I don't know, what do we get? Half an hour usually before a show. By the time vocal warm up rolls around after a physical, I spend the whole time doing lip trills, which is going up and down my range, and that's about it. And then a few minutes before I go on stage, I'll just do a couple of the bits in the show that I think are a bit tricky, just to make sure my placement's there, and that's it. Definitely cool down. So essentially it's doing what I just did for a warm-up, but bringing your larynx and everything back to reset. So generally, instead of going up when you're warming up in your range to warm up the highest stuff, you bring it back down to neutral. Drink tons of water, and get lots of sleep. Other than that, you could eat vegetables. Vegetables are very good for your voice. Vegetables are good for your body. But yeah, other than that, just be smart. If you're aware of your body and what you're doing to it, then you'll definitely feel a difference, the next day. If you go out drinking and you're shouting in a club, then obviously it's going to affect your voice. So you need to just know how your body's going to react to that. Some people can do that and still sing anything under the sun. So good on them. I'm not one of those people. So I have to, if we go out for a club, I have 1 or 2 drinks and I sit there in silence. So yeah, that's about it.
From experience there, Luke? Is that like... we'll say no more, because it's a family show. I'm not going too far into it. But I think that's good advice. Definitely good. Obviously, good advice for both parts of the question, to be honest, even though the first one was slightly vague. With regards to...
vague was the wrong term. It's difficult to answer, because it covers such a broad spectrum, and it's not something about your person. You should represent yourself as a good person, but other than that, gender or otherwise, it doesn't really make a difference. It's up to other people to cast you in stuff. So really, it's out of your hands. So there's no need to worry about it.
That's good advice. So moving on to something, one of your other credits. You've got lots of credits, but one of the other ones we touched on at the start. So Olivia wants to know, and it was her words, what's the best thing about being a Disney legend?
Oh, Olivia. Well, I would never have put the word legend next to my name there, but thank you very much. It's very kind. It's questions like that. It's having fans like you, Olivia, who say such lovely things. I had a blast on the show, working with my brother and all the other people, all the other cast and all the crew and everything. And it was fascinating. It was my first TV job, so that was fascinating. I was very lucky. I felt to be working in Milan and shooting there and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the best thing is we have some really lovely fans who we get messages quite a lot. I get tagged in stories and things, and it's always really, really lovely stuff. So that's very kind to know that our work's appreciated and that we have people who enjoyed it. And also, you know, to have the other guys in the cast, my other friends involved, and we're constantly tagged in things that we talk to each other about, which is really nice. So thank you, Olivia. That's very kind.
See, you're a legend. A legend. You're out there with Christian Chenoweth and Josh Gad and the Frozen crew. That's what it is.
Yeah, those are astronomical heights that I don't think I'll reach, but that's very nice of you to say.
Never say never. Never say never. Well, you've got your foot in the door with Disney, so casting for Frozen 3 will be starting soon.
I love that. Amazing.
I don't know if there is going to be a Frozen 3. That's no,
who knows?
There's no exclusive there.
Do you know what? I still haven't seen Frozen 2, and I feel ashamed because I'm obsessed with Into the Unknown, and the Panic at the Disco version is unbelievable. So yeah, I need to actually watch that movie.
I think it's coming out. It'll be out on DVD. I'm sure probably Disney Plus will have it shortly and everything. So yeah, you'll get a chance to see it. So obviously you work with your brother on your twins in the show. For anyone that hasn't seen it, you're identical twins. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mike and Nick. I was about to say Alex, but that's not right. Mike and Nick. Identical twins in the show. It was, I've got to say, I watched it. I've seen 1.5 series so far. I haven't got to series 3 because you're not in series 2.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother is though. Damien's in series 2, but you're not. But I haven't got to season 3 yet, but it will be watched. It's definitely it's a good one to watch because it's one what I would call easy watching. You don't have to. You can relax and watch it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a series you have to sit and literally watch and concentrate, which is good. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. Anyway, moving on before I dig myself a deeper hole. Michael,
that was a compliment. That's nice.
Yeah, Michael asks, back to this one here. Michael asks, what's your favourite song from Rock of Ages?
Oh, I say this every time. My favourite song, Michael, is do you know what? Maybe I've changed my mind. No, definitely. I say this every time, and this is confirmed. Waiting for a Girl. I love that song. I love it. I love the version in the show. I love the original. It's just really well written. It's got like a cool little vibe to it. I love everything about it. It's a brilliant song. That's the scene as well. The date scene, as we called it. With Nick have us come out on those little toy motorbike and stuff. That was really funny. He kind of added a little flavor of comedy in there, which I've not seen before in Rock of Ages. So it was really, really fun. And that was my favorite one to sing every time.
No, it's good. It's a very cheesy musical.
Oh yeah. I love it because it makes fun of itself, though. It knows that it's not Shakespeare. It isn't shy about pointing that out to the audience at the time. So that's part of its charm, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that. Definitely, I love it. It's one. I'm not a rocker. I'm not a rocker at all. And we saw it for the first time when it was on at the Shaftesbury years and years ago. It was Justin Lee Collins. It was at if you remember who he is, he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
No, I watched it at Shaftesbury as well. Yeah.
It was. I saw it. I took my brother. I hadn't a clue what it was. I thought, oh, rock. My brother's into rock music. Let's go. And we were down in London for I think it was a day and 2 days or whatever. I thought, let's take him, see what it's like. Hadn't a clue what it was about. Didn't know anything. I hadn't seen the film because I don't know if the film was out by that point or not.
No, it wasn't. Not yet. No.
I don't think it was out. Anyway, went and saw it, and I've got. My brother loved it too, but I've got to say, I thoroughly. As I say, it was cheesy, but as you say, it showed that it was cheesy, and it wasn't scared to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm not Shakespeare," as you said. But no, that's what I loved about it. Personally, my favourite song is "Hit Me with Your Best Shot."
Yeah,
Because I love the song anyway. Like before the show, I even loved the song. So to have that one, and then a bit of "Don't Stop Believing." But I think I love that song to do with Glee more than
sure.
because of Glee, more than anything. I think that's where that one came from.
I have a love-hate relationship with that song because it means it's the end of the show when we're singing that song, which is great. But it's also really, because it's the end of the show, it's also like the most energy that you're ever using. So it's a great song, great to do it at the end, but it is exhausting every single time. So I don't know if I love it or I hate it.
I can imagine, yes. I can appreciate that one, yes. And also because it is a class. Like there's lots of classics in the show, loads and loads of classics throughout the whole show. Loads and loads. I'm not even going to start rattling them off because I probably can't remember half of them. I'm sure you'll be able to tell us them all. Not that I'm going to ask you, don't panic. I'm not testing you. So Scott, moving on. Scott says, what do you say? No, what does he say? Sorry. So what do I say to people who say I won't make it as a male dancer?
People are telling Scott that he won't make it as a male dancer. That's what
Yeah.
he said. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to say anything. If you want to be a dancer, then all you have to do is work incredibly hard. But all you need to do is work hard. You need to just put the time in, put the effort in, and it will pay off. You don't need to say anything to them. It doesn't matter what they think. It's just about what you want to do. So my advice, Scott, is just ignore them. And if you want to prove them wrong in any way, you don't need to do it with your words. You need to do it with your talent and your hard work.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. So we're now going global, and we're going to Milan.
All right. Cool.
And Florence asks, that's a tough question, just tough one to say. Florence from Milan asks.
Not Florence from Florence.
No, that's why it was like I'm like, I read it and she says, my name's Florence from Milan. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not Florence from Florence, no, or Milan from Florence, no, it's Florence from Milan. Is there going to be another series of Penny on Mars?
Oh, okay. I'm sad to say, Florence, there is not. Season 3 is the final one. We were only ever, I think the plan was only ever to do 3. And I've not heard of anything else happening with Penny on Mars as a show. There have been whispers of potential spin-offs and things, but nothing is confirmed. It's all completely just ideas floating around. So I have no idea. Those whispers of spin-offs or whatever might be completely just speculation. But Penny on Mars as a show itself was only ever meant to be 3 seasons. So that's Penny on Mars done.
There we go. So that's a bit of bad news for Florence here, but bad news for me as well. So Liz asks, she's asking a bit more about productions rather than the actual shows. She wants to know, how do you go about adapting yourself from doing a tour to a static production?
Okay, sorry, who is it who asked that?
Liz.
How do I go adapting myself? It's harder on tour, I think. So I don't, because you're moving around. So our schedule, for instance, on Rock of Ages was 1 week in each place. We were very lucky in that we had generally Sunday and Monday off. So we did have a 2-day weekend. Most tours go from Monday to Saturday, and then they travel on the Sunday to the next venue. Because we had that 2-day buffer, it meant that if I was relatively close to home, then I would come home on the Saturday night, or I'd go home early Sunday morning and then get a day at home. So it's difficult because the traveling does take it out of you. You're spending all your energy in the shows, and kind of you do the show at night and then you sleep most of the day, go outside and get some sunlight, and then you're back in the theater to do the show. So touring is very difficult. It's very taxing on your body. It becomes very tiring. If you were to pay attention to it as it goes along, you'll notice that people towards the end of a tour tend to maybe have shows off, or there are injuries or something like that. We had quite a few injuries towards the end of Rock of Ages, especially for our ensemble, because Nick's choreography is brilliant, but it is very, very difficult on the body. So it meant that a few people had to take some shows off here and there, just so that they, didn't fully break themselves. With a static show, it's a kind of different mindset. You get the comforts of being at home, or in Japan, when we did chess, for instance, we were in apartments the whole time. When we were in Tokyo, when we were in Osaka, we were in a hotel, but we were only there for a short period of time. So it was relatively static. So you get the chance when you're in one place to go and explore that place. If you're somewhere different, for instance, Tokyo, so we got to go do lots of touristy things. Being at home here, it would mean you have kind of more time to, see friends and go out and kind of do like normal life stuff that normally on tour, because you're away from stuff, you wouldn't have the time to do. So I think the adaptation comes from being on tour and being strict with yourself, with your schedule, with kind of your kind of, I don't know, I was going to say diet, but I meant like making sure you're eating like my mum would want me to be doing, and just being strict with your body as well. It's easy to want to go and party and whatever, but you have to be careful that you are, when the evening rolls around, you are, performing in front of paying customers. So it's always, you have to always have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, because that's the thing that you need to remember. Although it's fun, it's still a job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still your job, although it's a bit more fun than a lot of people's jobs. Like a lot of people's, including mine. Yeah. No offense to my.
I mean, it's just as physically taxing as a footballer playing a football game for 90 minutes or whatever. It's the dancing is just as intense in terms of what it takes for the body, the concentration you need to be able to act and to sing and all that stuff. It's a lot. It's very taxing. So you have to always, you do have to bear that in mind.
You've got to like your hair down eventually as well. You've got to, like, from a mental point of view as well, you've got to have that balance of knowing when you can and when you can't. That's the other thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's mainly what I was saying. You got to make sure that you're well fed, because you need the energy for the show. Yeah. So it's always something that I like to think about. I've always got snacks as well, and lots of sugary things backstage, just in case I need a little pick me up. I'm a big fan of the no shell Skittles.
All right.
Have you seen those?
Yes.
I love them. I've always got them. I always had a pack in my toolbox to make sure, because
so we now know what
you just needed a little
kick. If we ever see them, if we ever go to production with Luke, we now know what to bring to stage door, guys.
I won't say no. I won't say no.
No shell Skittles.
They're great. I love them.
So continuing on, Jamie asks a bit of a kind of, I don't know if this is a tough one for you to answer, but we'll ask you anyway. Do audiences, so we're looking from the audience perspective here, relate better to a jukebox musical or a classic like chess?
That's a difficult question. There's a difficult question, Jamie. I think it depends on the show. So jukebox musicals, although very popular, in terms of if you were to look at it in terms of I don't know, success, meaning how long they've been running, kind of the exposure that you get to them. If you look at Wicked, that's going to be going till the sun burns the earth into a crisp. That will go on forever.
Aye.
Definitely not a jukebox musical. Mamma Mia, very much a jukebox musical, and people still in love with it. So those are two shows that I think are very different in their makeup, and you can definitely say that they're going to be running till the end of time. So I think it just depends on the content of the show. What made me fall in love with Rock of Ages was the fact that it's funny and that it pokes fun at itself. Mm-hmm. And I think it does it really, really well. Chris Dorenzo has done a really good job of making sure that you know that it's a comedy and it breaks the fourth wall, and there are very set moments where that happens. There are some shows that do that less successfully, which is why they aren't, I think, as long running or don't have the same amount of success. Having said that, even Rock of Ages didn't run for too long when it came to the West End.
No.
So sometimes it's just a gamble, I think. Maybe at the time when it came over, rock music wasn't what people were into. And now it's come kind of back around again, as most things do in history. It's all in circles, and rock music's having kind of a resurgence. So people are starting to love it all over again. So it kind of depends. Yeah, We Will Rock You ran forever as well. Brilliant music. And Queen, everyone's going to love Queen again forever. So I think it just depends. There are so many tiny little details that make a good show. So it's hard to say. That is a very difficult question.
That's a hard one, but it's a good one to think about. Like, not just for you, for anyone. It's good, and the way you answered it was great. I think because Wicked definitely will run for forever, definitely. And same with Mamma Mia. Obviously written by Benny and Bjorn. Sorry. We'll touch on them later. We're not going to talk too much about them just now. For obvious reasons. But the next question comes from, I apologise on the pronunciation if I get this wrong. It comes from Yum Echo.
Sure.
I'm saying it as it's written. If that's wrong, I do apologise. It's from Yum Echo, and she asks, or they ask, should I say, I'm not assuming gender, they ask, what roles would you want to play in musical theatre?
Okay. Thank you for your question, Yamako. Is that a question from Japan, all the way from Japan?
That's a question from Japan.
That's very kind of you to write in a question, Yamako. I hope we're saying that right. What roles would I like to play? There are lots of great roles. I think roles that I won't get that I'd love to play. I'd love to be in Dear Evan Hansen. I would have loved to have been Evan or Connor.
I can see it's Connor.
I'm a bit too old, I think. They've cast some really young-looking guys in that, and I think I look a bit too old. I don't know with my newly shaved head, though, but I don't think that'll pass for Connor. I'd love to do Jamie in the last 5 years. I love the music, and I love that story and that character. Other than that, I mean, there are plenty of roles that I think are good, but it's hard. I've been asked before, what's my dream role? And I've never really settled on one. I just love being...
We'll come back to that question later.
I'll come up with an answer, but I'm gonna preface it here with it changes and I'm never entirely sure. I'm always just happy to be in work. I'm always happy to be working, and like you said, it's a really fun job. So I'm happy to have a fun job and to be entertaining people, and also to be surrounded by an industry that is chock-a-block full of talent. So it's hard to say what I'd like to do, because I'd like to do anything.
Perform on stage. Full stop. Just a last point from Yamako. They said that hopefully one day they want to see you back in Japan.
Oh, I'd love to. I would really, really love to. The guys who put on Chess, Umeda Arts Theatre, were lovely. They treated us really, really well. I know that I think they would like to have me back, and I know I'd love to go back. So fingers crossed for the future.
What is it like? You look at some of these people and like some of the big names in the West End, and that's no disrespect here. I mean disrespect, but that's all they are, is a big name in the West End. But you're a name in Italy. You're a name in Japan. You're a name every day. Like, people know your name everywhere. In the UK, obviously, for the tours and stuff you've done in the UK, but not many West End or musical theatre people get that. There's only a small calibre that have their name known in other countries. So how does that make you feel?
I don't know. I don't think of myself as special. I don't know. So it's I've just been lucky. It's all happened kind of. I've been following where the jobs have been going, so it's very nice to be able to talk to people from other countries and have them tell me they enjoy the things I've done and enjoy the work that I've done. But yeah, it's nothing. I don't think fans are the same all over the world. They appreciate what you're doing, and that's why they're your fans. They want to tell you that. So regardless of it being international or local or whatever, I think it's just really nice to have people who appreciate your work and who tell you. So I'm just happy that that's what's happening.
So what a bit off script here, but I want to know what's next? Broadway?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Would you? No, I don't mean that. I'm not asking for it. I'm just, would you do Broadway? Is really what I mean. I'm not pressing for information. Like, we're not this kind of interview. We're not looking for exclusives or anything.
No, that's fine. My answer is going to be I don't know. Theatre shut down, really, but
yeah.
I'd be happy to work. I'd be happy to work anywhere. We Will Rock You on a cruise ship because that came up, and I thought that'd be a great role anyway to do Galileo, and it would be really fun to do it on a cruise ship. So why not? It came up, so I'd be happy to work wherever in the world. I'd never thought that I'd work in Japan, and I did. So yeah, it doesn't matter for me where. I'd be happy to do it anywhere.
The Broadway must be a niggle in there somewhere, because Broadway obviously is like the pinnacle for musicals, really.
Yeah, well, yes, but only in name. I think because there's the people who have been in the West End. Like, do you know what? Jodie Steele is a great example. Just did Heathers at the Haymarket and then came straight to doing Rock of Ages on tour. Like, you go from being in London and performing in a West End theatre, and those exact same people are the people who are on tour. So in terms of caliber of show, it's no different. The only difference is that Broadway is a street in the middle of New York. So it would be fantastic. And there are no real negatives about doing it. But I don't think it diminishes anything else that exists in terms of performing, because like I said, the industry is full of talented people. So for me, it doesn't matter where or when or how. So
that's a good answer. I like that answer. It was a very politician answer. You answered the question, but you went round the houses. It was good. I like that. So back to the script now, because I've stopped asking the questions I want to know. Adam, he wants to know. So he's testing your brain a bit to see if you know this.
Oh God!
What's it like stepping in the same shoes as Diego Bonteno?
Thank you for that question, Adam. I don't know who that is.
He is the gentleman that played Drew in the film version of Rock of Ages.
Oh, right. Okay. I wouldn't consider, and the reason I don't know it is because I did watch, maybe not the entirety of the film. I was also in this show before the film came out. So when I'm stepping into the shoes of whoever it may be, really it is into the shoes of Konstantin Maroulis and Oliver Tomset, who did it first. So although he's a great performer and what he did in the film was great, that's not really, I consider the musical version to be a completely different beast to the film. So his shoes are not the ones that I'm stepping into, I don't think.
It's another good answer. Your answer is good, I've got to say. I'm liking your answers. Sam wants to know, I think she's a Strictly fan, so you might know what's coming next.
Sure.
What's Kevin Clifton like to work with? And does he constantly comment on your dancing?
Thank you, Sam, for that. Do you know, I never watched an episode of Strictly till the final in which Kevin won. I'd never seen an episode of Strictly before. But I was like, I'm going to work with the guy, like just coming up after Christmas. I was like, well, I'll just turn it on. It happened to be the final and he won it. I was like, oh, amazing. Kevin's lovely. A really good bloke. Another guy who I would text and just be like, how's it going, mate? Everything cool? Great guy. Really, really funny. You talk to him about football all day. Just really nice to everyone. Like, it's just nice to be around him. We shared a dressing room quite often on tour. So that was cool to just be in there. We were just talking about like different games we were playing on our iPads or whatever. He never commented on my dancing. I didn't do much dancing in the show. But do you know what? Knowing him how I do, I don't think he's the kind of person who would unless you asked him to. Because he's just very kind. So I don't think he'd feel like it was his place to do that. But we did do a couple Strictly Saturdays in our warm-ups. So he didn't comment on those, but I'm sure he had some thoughts on my on whatever I was doing, my salsa or whatever it happened to be at the time. It was probably terrible.
Yeah, Kevin knows me, not as well as he knows you. I don't text him or I don't have his number, but I have met him quite a few times at Strictly. and I was at the Wedding Singer quite a lot.
Yeah.
Out at the Wembley Troubadour just before the lockdown. It was kind of, I got its finishing night, thankfully. So no, I know him, but not quite as well as you do. And he's a face that he recognised, I think, so maybe a better way of putting it. There's that weirdo again. I think it's maybe what he's thinking.
I don't think he thinks like that. He's too nice. He's too kind.
So. But you never know. So Alice wants to know, are you a rocker in real life?
Alice, I don't know if this is disappointing for you. I love rock music, and I did grow up listening to kind of Rolling Stones and The Who and Queen and stuff. No, right, cool. That is literally the joke that my dad always made. You've put yourself in category with my dad there, Graham. Well done.
I do have a lot of dad jokes.
Yeah, I love rock music, and I'll listen to it all day long. But I kind of my favorite kind of music is kind of folk country. I'm a big fan of Frank Turner, who, if you don't know who he is, have a look because he's brilliant. So that's kind of my jam. If there's something that I want to listen to, I'll go listen to that kind of thing. But I do love rock music. I don't think I'm that serious about it that I could ever describe myself as a rocker, though.
Fun fact, you and my brother would go on like a house on fire then.
Why is he like Frank Turner? He
is addicted to Frank Turner. He has seen him loads live. He has tattoos based on some of his songs.
Oh, really?
We were at his, I don't know if it was his first ever, but one of his first ever gigs when he done, well, this is where my brother met him, and not met him, but fell in love with him. When he did Green Day, he supported Green Day up in Manchester.
Oh, yeah.
This was years and years ago, maybe 2012 or something, about that. The last time Green Day were in Scotland, UK anyway. And so he fell in love there, and he loves Frank Turner. So you and him would go on like a house on fire with that.
Yeah. He's brilliant. I love him. He's so
yeah, good. He was good. I've only ever seen him once. I can't say that he's ever not hooked me, put it that way, but he's certainly hooked Ryan. That's definite. He loves them. So moving on, Mark, he wants to know, what's your favourite song in chess?
My favourite song in chess, Mark, is do you know what? I really liked I saw something happen. I was looking off to the side thinking, and I saw something happen in the corner of my eye. All right, there it is. Nice background. I think my favorite song in chess is Nobody's Side. I really like One Night in Bangkok. There's just like a really cool kind of like 70s jam to it. I like Pity the Child. I would just like a happier song out of that, because it's such a like, oh, I'm so sad, which is really like fun to play, but it's not something you want to listen to all the time, how depressed someone is. Nobody's Side, though, has this kind of jam to it, like the drum, the snare on kind of the offbeat that was going through it was amazing. We played with a full orchestra in Japan, so we got to experience the whole thing. The brass section in it were great. I loved the kind of gospel call and response thing that the ensemble did as well. So that every time kind of gave me chills, and especially Sam singing that was amazing to listen to every single night. So Nobody's Side is my favorite song.
That's a good one. Yes, that's a good one. You can't beat Anthem though.
Yes, but for the same reason that I don't like listening to Pity the Child all the time, is that it's a bit slow and depressing.
And you want to play Dear Evan Hansen?
No, but the music's the music. In terms of the tone of the music, it's very different.
Apart from Good For You, everything's so depressing. Like,
yeah, but it's not written. It's not written in that. So I not to take away the brilliance of Anthem as a song. I think it is a fantastic song. It's just not one that I'd listen to in any mood. If Nobody's Side was around, I'd be like, yeah, play that straight away. Anthem, I'd have to be in kind of a definitely more reflective kind of somber mood, I think, to enjoy it. With any music, I think you can apply.
Yeah, you do feel different things, and you want to listen to different types of music when you're in different moods. That's definite. So while you were in Japan, did Benny or Beyond come and see it?
They didn't. They wanted to, as far as I understand it. We did get a tweet wishing us good luck, which is very, very nice. But no, neither of them came. I think they're obviously always going to be busy doing stuff, writing other things, so they didn't come to see it. But we were in contact. I know that Nick was in contact with them all the time about possible script changes and like chopping scenes around and things like that. So they were very happy. They were very involved, which is quite rare for someone who is A, so famous, and also B, who wrote it, years ago and could have washed their hands with the production and let someone else deal with it. They were very much as individuals involved in the production, even though it was thousands of miles away. So that was really nice. But sadly, they didn't come.
Have you met them?
I haven't met them, no.
Marcus, no. This is all his kind of questions. That's why I haven't said another name. So you haven't met them yet?
Nope, not met them. Not yet.
There's no time. Yes, you'll be back in another production of Chess or something. Mamma Mia, or we'll get you into something that they've done. But I think when you were talking about obviously keeping hands-on, I think they're still very much hands-on with Mamma Mia. Even though it's been running for years in the West End, they're maybe not quite there every week or every year or whatever, but they're still very much, from a distance, hands-on. They like to know what's happening when there's cast changes. They like to be involved. I think certainly from what I've spoke to people at Stage Door anyway, that's certainly the way they see it. They're very much still. So I think it's their babies, and they want to make sure that they're grown up well. And certainly Chess is one that is grown up well. Without a doubt, it doesn't age, without a doubt. Even way back from when Barbara Dixon did it to now, obviously, to your guys, and the one that was on at the Coliseum last year. That was the one I saw. That was the first time I'd ever seen Chess as a musical. I've heard the songs, obviously, but it's like, and it was but it was a hard sell. Like, A, why they picked the Coliseum, one of the biggest theatres in London, I don't know, but they did. But B, it really was a hard sell. I thought Chess sold out every night.
No, it's something. It's like I said earlier. I think the kind of the nature of the production has to be. It's not so relatable when it's just straight on the page, I think. And that's what I loved about our version, is that Nick made it very relatable for people. So he made it about the human story instead of about the politics. So I think that's why people have struggled. And his choreography was also very good in telling the story. And from what I understand of previous productions, there have been very few that have been able to use their choreography to as a tool to demonstrate the story or to continue on the story. So that's also very difficult as a production to make happen. So I think that's maybe why it's been so difficult. But it is, it's a good story, good music. And when it's done right, I think it's really good.
Well, definitely, it's fantastic. But I couldn't believe how much of a hard sell it was. I'm like, wow, because I would rock up that day and get a ticket, and I thought, even with the cast, because the cast at the Coliseum were second, fantastic, but Michael Ball was in it. I thought, oh, Michael Ball will sell it. No, definitely not. Anyway, moving back on to
that.
Look how young you look.
Look at my hair. I do miss having normal hair. You should have seen it. I shaved it literally yesterday because it was down here over my eyes, and I got fed up. Yeah.
I'm almost at that stage, not quite. I think my mother would not be happy if I did that, but anyway. So moving slightly back on to Rock of Ages, sure. Callum wants to know, has any of the original performers of any of the songs seen you as Drew?
I am not aware that they have. I don't think so. I would have loved for that to happen, Callum. I would have loved it. But no, I'm not. If they have, I don't know about it. I
know what you'd have been made of you.
That would have been nice.
They'd have come back to it.
Probably. I would have freaked out if I knew they were in the audience. But yeah, sadly not. I'm just happy to be able to sing their songs. They're all the songs in the show are great. So I'm really, really privileged to be able to do it.
Well, definitely, yeah, definitely. You kind of touched on this, but Sarah wants to know, what is your pre-show ritual?
My pre-show ritual, Sarah, is eat some Skittles. Um, sometimes, do you know what I like to? So the reason I started on these Skittles because I said drink loads of water because it really does help your voice and just your body in general. Just makes you feel better, more awake, more alert. Um, I was drinking so much water to make sure that my voice was hydrated that I just needed to go for a wee like every 5 minutes. So I had to come up with something that would kind of keep some moisture in my mouth and around my throat, but didn't need me drinking loads of water. So I started eating sweets, and I landed on those Skittles eventually. Um, my ritual is normally grab a coffee before warm up, go in and do the physical and the vocal warm up, and then do those lip trills, which I spoke about earlier, kind of in my dressing room for a good half an hour. It'd be eating sweets as I go. I'd like to have a wander around the theatre, say hi to people. I get bored, especially if I'm in a dressing room on my own. I'll just leave like the door wide open, so if anyone wants to come in, they can, or I just wander off. Um, uh, and then, yeah, I like to leave it as late as possible to put on any makeup or my costume. So I was sharing a dressing room with Lucas Rush quite often, who played Lonnie. Um, so we would do the 5 minute challenge. So when we got a 5 minute call, that's when we would start getting ready. Or I like to leave it till beginners sometimes, depends how I'm feeling. And so I'd be challenging people to leave it as late as possible because that would be hilarious to me if anyone was late. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, I just kind of chill out. It's very chilled out backstage normally for me.
5 minute warning. That would no. That would. I'm one of these people that have to be an hour early. I like to be early, not just on time. No, that would. I'd be having kittens by that point, definitely. I'd be screaming. I'd be like your brother. I'd be screaming at you, going, come on, hurry up. So, Robbie, who you met earlier, he wants to know live theatre or TV. What's better?
Oh, it's hard to say what's better, Robbie. It's hard to say. Um, I love live theatre because of um, I like the instant reaction. So Kevin Kennedy, he wrote a book about his recovery. I think it's called Recovery Street, I want to say. And he said the same thing. He said that he loved, I think he was touring with, I want to say Macbeth at the time. And he got this instant reaction from this live theatre performance that he was doing. And then he was doing Coronation Street kind of on Sundays, I think, because they were filming in a supermarket or something. So he'd get like a titter from the crew maybe sometimes, but generally they have to stay completely silent because otherwise it will ruin the take. So he would say that his favorite was doing live theatre because you get that instant reaction. I do agree. I love the instant reaction, but I also really enjoy all the technical stuff that happens with live TV. There's a cameraman with this big old camera like strapped to him doing all this, like, and there's a dude next to him with, like, the focus dial and all this stuff, and this is all happening simultaneously. So although you're doing the scene and you're acting with someone else, there is 1,001 other things happening around you as it's all going simultaneously. Mm-hmm. Much like there is in theater, but it's the finer details of the TV which fascinates me. But like, just like in theater, the sound guy's working really, really hard to make sure everything sounds good. The lighting people are doing all that crazy stuff. The backstage crew are moving things around all the time. So if I had to pick a favorite, Robbie, I would say live theater because of that audience reaction. Yeah, because on set, you might get told after the fact that what you did was good, but it's always afterwards. And because we all live off of our ego, that's how we feed ourselves in theater. I like to hear that people like it instantly. It's my sustenance.
But diva-ish, yes, I live off my ego. Yes. Mm-hmm. And our last question from the fans comes from Joanne, and she wants to know, do you have any tips? That's the word. I can't read my own handwriting there. Look, do you have any tips on how to learn your lines?
Oh, okay. So there are people use different techniques. If you don't have it, let me check the name of it, Joanne, so you can download it. There is an app called, I want to say, Line Learner. Line Learner. This isn't an advert, by the way, for Line Learner. There's a free version of it, and there is also a paid version for it. I don't know the differences between the two. Line Learner, you can record the other lines in the scene and leave spaces between them so that you can be talking probably to yourself as you're learning the lines. Some people would like to do that to hear it. But in terms of tips to learn it, my acting teacher had an interesting one where you would sit with your scene partner, or if you're on your own, you would do the same, but you'd just be talking to a blank wall or whatever. So you say the lines that you know as much as you can until you can't remember it. And then you look down at the lines and you read the line, and then you look back up and you say that, and you keep going until that happens. And then you go to the top and you repeat that like 5 times. So you go as far as you can with what you can remember until you have to look at the script. And then you carry on doing the same thing as you go. I think the secret is just repetition though. So I will learn a scene. So say the scene's 2 pages long. I'll learn the scene and I'll learn the first line and then the second and then the third. And then I'll go back to the top and say them in order. So I'll be covering up my lines and I'll be reading the other person's line above it. And then I'll be going down. And then I'll carry on. I'll go 4th, 5th, 6th, and then I'll go back to the top and do them all through. And then I'll keep doing it like that because the repetition just helps it stick in your brain. But you never know your lines well enough, ever. My acting teacher, he used to say that you should know your lines better than you think you know them, because as soon as you stand up opposite someone in a scene and you try and act with that person, all of your lines go out your head. You have no idea what you're saying. So repetition is great. Doing it with no kind of safety blanket, so no script kind of just to the side or whatever, is best, because I think that will help you remember it for when you do come up and stand up next to someone and have to do it. But yeah, just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it sticks. It's really, really tricky. I had a couple of friends who I did my musical theatre course with who had dyslexia, and so they were talking to my acting teacher about how it was difficult for them to learn lines. And this applies to anyone with or without dyslexia, but he would say you just need to spend longer. If it takes you longer, you need to spend longer. So you just have to do as much, need to take as much time for yourself as you can until you know them.
Good advice. Yeah, good sound advice. I think just practice, I think. So
yeah. There's no special secret.
There's no way of sticking them in there, is there? Magically. So that
brings not I'd be doing it.
That's true.
And then selling the idea.
Yes, definitely. But we know that you don't pay for Line Learner if you don't know the difference between the free version and the paid version.
I still haven't used it yet. I've just downloaded the app. I don't know.
So basically, it hasn't a clue if it's good or not.
I can tell you, Samantha Barks is an advocate for that app. If you need any kind of reference, she says it's good.
If Samantha uses it, then it must be good. So that brings us to the end of the fans' questions. You'll be glad to know you can relax slightly. But we do have our famous, I don't know how it's famous because nobody talks about it, but our famous West End Talks quick fire round.
Yeah.
We'll get some catchy tunes or something, and eventually we'll get a theme tune for it, like a game show.
That'd be great. I'd love to hear that.
I know for that. Don't, that will not be in the final edit. Don't panic.
Confirmed. It's going to be in the final edit. It's going to be there.
Anyway, a couple of questions just to ask everybody. One of them we've touched on already, but the first one is, what is your favourite musical theatre song?
My favourite musical theatre song. I want to do this in a quick fire fashion, so I'm going to say these as quick as I can. My favourite musical theatre song is, I said I was going to do them quick and I can't think of the song. I love For Forever from Dear Evan Hansen. That is what came into my head. For Forever.
That's a good choice, yes. Love that musical. What is your dream role?
My dream role, Jamie from The Last 5 Years.
Good one, yes. What is your dream gender bend role?
Oh, that's so much harder. I mean, who doesn't want to be Elphaba?
That's a kind of, yes, I think everybody kind of wants to try that one eventually, don't Bit harder one. What's your top 5 shows?
Oh, man. Oh no. In no particular order.
In no particular order, it doesn't have to be in order.
Jeez. This is so hard. Dear Evan Hansen, I saw that quite recently. That was really good.
Yeah.
Come From Away.
Oh.
That was also very good. God, now I have to think of what I've seen. I've seen so many musicals. I mean, I can't say the one I've been in.
And
All right,
surely
I can. Rock of Ages, just to fill. It's filler. It's filler. Rock of Ages. I do actually love that show. What else? Should I just say everything I've done in my CV, just to fill the time?
Game?
Chess. Yeah, I really love chess. What else have I done? I'm kidding. What else? And also, do you know what? I said I wanted to be Elphaba. Wicked is a brilliant musical. It's written really well. I think to play Elphaba is something really, really special. I'd love to. I think the people who get to do that are in a particularly good role. And you also have to be insanely talented to be able to do that. So I think for the reason of being able to watch someone play Elphaba, I think Wicked is going to be in that list.
I think what they need to do, I think the directors or whoever the decision would be, needs to realise that they've got a kind of market there for charity gigs, because there are so many male performers out there that want to do Elphaba. We could do it for charity. Maybe West End Talks will start it. We'll buy the license to do it, and we'll do a gender bend version of Wicked.
Do it. I'd be down. I'd be apt. I'll be all over it.
Who says you're getting cast?
I'd be Glinda. I'm not saying no. Listen, I said I'd love to be Elphaba. I didn't think I could carry it off. I'll do Glinda. let me Glinderize this stuff. You can hear my classical singing, which does not exist.
Popular. Nah, I don't. No. Last up today. You'll be glad to know. Last thing. Have you heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yes.
You have. We're not going to ask you to pour ice over yourself. Don't panic.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. The facial expressions when you ask that question are just second to none, really. Especially the very first one was Daniel from Bear, the musical, and his face was just an absolute picture when we asked that, because we didn't pre-warn him about it. It was just fantastic. He was like, no. But anyway, the whole point in the Ice Bucket Challenge, you do the challenge and then you have to nominate somebody. So obviously we've started the West End Talks nomination. Mm-hmm. What we'd like you to do now that you've gone through the pain of coming on to do the interview, it's time to inflict that pain on somebody else. So
it's not been painful at all. I've had a lovely time.
Oh, thanks. All we ask is you nominate somebody just now, and then once you've finished, go onto Twitter and just post a tweet about just finished my talk with West End Talks. Now it's your turn, something like that. And tag both us and that person in it. So it could be anyone you want from theatre, on or off stage. Who would you like to nominate? Okay.
I have a question before I tell you my nomination, because I have someone in the back of my mind. Have you had only performers so far?
So far, but not actually. Our next one's not a performer.
Okay. Okay, so to balance the scale, I will be tweeting Ben Cracknell, who was the lighting designer on Chess, and also he works with Nick Winston all the time because he's very, very talented. He did Rock of Ages and 1,000 other shows as well. So I'm going to tweet him.
That's fantastic, actually, because that's avoided. We don't have anybody from lighting, so that yes, that'd be great. But our next talk coming up is not actually a performer. So you'll find out at the end, but that's us. That's your pain over, Luke. Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, thank you. All that's left to say to you guys at home is just remember, obviously, me and Luke aren't here just for fun. We did have fun, but we're not just here for fun. We're here to help raise money for Acting for Others. That's the point in West End Talks, to help all these guys, support all actors who obviously are at the moment currently going through. We're all going through a hard time, but this is about the West End and about the actors and stuff at the moment. But not just now, they help throughout the rest of the year and everything as well. So the link will be in the bio. All we ask is, if you can, please donate anything you can at all. Any as little as you can, as much as you can. Sorry, anything I'll be thankful. Thankful. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean.
It is now.
It is now. Yes, I've made it up. And our last thing is just join us next time when we're going to have Tom Gribby, who is an agent to the Stars, and also he produced the recent Pirate Queen concert. So join us then. We've got him coming up. But lastly, all that's left to say is thank you very much, Luke, for joining us once again. It's been an absolute privilege getting to know you and getting to hear all about your stories. So thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye.